The Sundial and the Spectre. How the sun forged time in human consciousness. Time is the invisible currency of existence, yet for most of human history, no one owned even a second of it. The modern notion of time, a precise, uniform grid of identical minutes and seconds ticking toward an abstract, open-ended future, is a recent invention, forged in the furnaces of science and industry. Ancient humanity did not watch the clock, it felt the sun's unyielding presence. The very idea of time was not a gentle philosophical musing, but a force violently thrust upon human consciousness by celestial rhythms, agricultural necessity, and the organizational demands of the first cities. From the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the observatories of the Islamic world and the equations of modern physics, humanity's conception of time evolved through three great stages: the cyclical, time as eternal return and renewal; the linear, time as a directed path towards judgment or progress; and finally, the abstract, time as a measurable, relative dimension that may itself be emergent or illusory. This essay traces that profound journey, beginning with the sun's primal role and expanding through rich philosophical, historical, and cultural details from diverse civilizations, before culminating in the revolutionary insights of Newton, Darwin, Einstein, and contemporary physics. 1. The cruel gift of the sun, time thrust upon consciousness. Long before any calendar or mechanical device, the sun imposed its brutal regularity. The binary rhythm of day and night, light for labour and survival, darkness for rest and vulnerability, formed the first inescapable timepiece. Yet the sun's greater gift was the solar year, the slow, life-or-death march of seasons that forced early humans beyond the immediacy of the present into foresight and planning. Planting, growth, harvest, decay, and winter dormancy expanded consciousness. Survival hinged on anticipating rains, floods, or migrations. This was qualitative time, not abstract quantification. The season of lambing, the swelling of rivers, the ripening of grains, the feasts honouring ancestors under specific stellar alignments. Time consciousness arose laced with dread and hope. Will the rains come? Will the sun return after the longest night? Will our stores endure? Thus, the first human notion of time was cyclical, a great wheel of recurrence. Birth echoed spring. Maturity mirrored summer's abundance. Old age and death paralleled autumn and winter. Renewal promised another turning. Ancient people lived vividly in years and decades, watching children mature, elders decline, villages persist or vanish. But deep time remained inconceivable. The cosmos appeared young. Its history counted in generations or mythic ancestries rather than geological epochs. The sun had thrust time upon consciousness as an intimate bodily rhythm tied to life's patterns. 2. Ancient Mesopotamia, the first mathematics of the cycle. In the land between the Tigris and Euphrates, Sumerians and Babylonians transformed solar tyranny into precision. By around 4000 to 3000 BCE, they grappled with the mismatch between the lunar month, approximately 29.5 days, and the solar year. Their solution was the sexagesimal base 60 system, yielding the division of the day into 24 hours, the hour into 60 minutes, and the minute into 60 seconds, the framework we still use. They divided the circle into 360 degrees, reflecting an ideal 360-day year. Their lived experience of time, however, stayed deeply cyclical. The lunar-solar calendar required periodic intercalary months to align with seasons and harvests. The Grand Akitu New Year festival ritually dissolved cosmic order. The king humbled himself, chaos was invoked, and the world was reborn through divine renewal. Time was a repeating drama of creation, order, decay, death, and rebirth. The future held no radical novelty, only the eternal return of fundamental patterns. Doomsday arrived annually in miniature, then overcome. Astronomical records on cuneiform tablets tracked celestial omens to interpret the recurring will of the gods within the wheel. Here, time was both administrative mathematics and sacred myth. 3. Ancient Egypt and Greece, the cosmos, Mat, and the kairotic moment. Egypt refined the cycle into a divine machine. The heliacal rising of Sirius signalled the Nile's flood, enabling a 365-day solar calendar. They divided day and night into 12 hours each, using shadow clocks, sundials, by day and water clocks by night. Timekeeping upheld Mat, cosmic balance and harmony, which the pharaoh maintained against chaos, Isfet. Egyptian eternity featured Neher, cyclical recurrence tied to the sun, and Dijet, enduring duration. But the dominant pulse remained renewal. Greece introduced philosophical tension. They distinguished Chronos, sequential, measurable clock time, from Kairos, the opportune, qualitative moment ripe for action. Heraclitus viewed time as flux. One cannot step twice into the same river. Parmenides deemed change and time illusions, with true reality as eternal, unchanging being. Plato, in the Timaeus, described time as the moving image of eternity, a cyclical, imperfect copy of timeless perfection, driven by celestial revolutions. Most Greeks saw history repeating like seasons. Romans, pragmatic, leaned linear for administration, dating years from Rome's founding, 753 BCE, and using fluid, seasonal hours, yet they balanced natural sundial rhythms with annals of conquests. 4. Ancient China. The spiral of dynasties and the principle of China created a hybrid. Spiral time, blending natural cycles with the moral arc of dynasties. Philosophers emphasized Shi, timeliness or situational advantage, the qualitative, right moment, aligned with the Tao, or heaven's mandate, not abstract seconds. Confucius looked backward to a golden age of virtue. Emperors calibrated calendars and rituals to legitimize rule. Timekeeping advanced with water clocks dividing the day into 100K or 12 double hours signalled by gongs. The soul of Chinese temporality was the dynastic cycle. A virtuous founder rises with heaven's mandate. The dynasty flourishes, corrupts, loses legitimacy amid omens and disorder, collapses, and yields to renewal. Neither pure cycle, each era carried unique particulars and cumulative memory, nor pure line, the rise-fall pattern repeated. It formed a spiral, forward momentum layered on recurring archetypes. Doomsday was the recurrent twilight of order. Famine, rebellion, invasion, always imminent when virtue faded. History offered moral analogies rather than linear progress. 5. Ancient India. The vertigo of eternal recurrence. India scaled time to vertiginous depths. Hindu cosmology unfolds through yugas and kalpas. A Mahayuga spans 4.32 million years in declining phases, Satya, Treta, Dvapara, current Kali Yuga, with virtue and duration in 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 ratio. A kalpa, 1 day of Brahma, equals 4.32 billion years, ending in pralaya, dissolution, followed by cosmic night within even vaster cycles. Time is an endless wheel of creation, preservation, destruction, and rebirth. The goal for many traditions is moksha, liberation from samsara, the karmic cycle. Time appeared as a vast, repetitive trap, ultimately illusory, maya, marked by decline within each age. Pralaya resets periodically, but brings nothing truly novel. This fostered detachment alongside sophisticated astronomy, tracking immense cycles. 6. The Muslim world, linear time charged with divine purpose. Islam introduced a decisive linear thrust while retaining cyclical elements for worship. The narrative arcs from creation, through the prophetic line, moral testing, to the Yawm al-Qiyamah, Day of Judgment, and eternal afterlife. The calendar begins with the Hijra, 622 CE, a historical pivot, not a natural cycle. Every moment carries weight as a step toward accountability. Practical cycles persisted, 5 daily prayers timed by solar position, lunar months for Ramadan, and Hajj. This duty drove advances in astronomy, astrolabes, quadrants, prayer timetables, and Qibla calculations. Yet time felt linear and purposeful, a finite path with irreversible consequences. This sensibility infused Abrahamic eschatology with urgency, shaping the Western end is near consciousness. 7. The doomsday problem, why the end always seemed near. Across traditions, doomsday felt imminent. Cyclical systems featured periodic resets, annual Akitu, cosmic pralaya, or Maya Baktun transitions. Linear or short historical views operated within a few thousand years since creation. Without geology or vast cosmology, the universe seemed small and young. Eclipses, comets, plagues, or decay signaled final warnings. Early Christians awaited the parousia soon. Medieval Europe recalculated apocalypse via numerology. This was logical given limited data and observable erosion. Empires crumbled, bodies aged, order frayed. Ancient humans, attuned to years and decades amid visible decay, placed endings near at hand. 8. The scientific revolution and the Great Rupture. Newton, deep time, Einstein, and modern physics. The scientific revolution shattered ancient frames. Isaac Newton, in his Principia Mathematica, 1687, defined absolute time. Absolute, true, and mathematical time, of itself and from its own nature, flows equably without relation to anything external, and by another name is called duration. This uniform, independent flow, independent of events or observers, provided the smooth mathematical container for classical mechanics, enabling predictions of planetary motion and earthly dynamics. It supplanted the living, qualitative time of seasons, prayers and festivals with the dead, quantitative time of the mechanical clock, synchronized across empires and emerging factories. Yet Newton's absolute framework assumed a young Earth aligned with biblical chronologies. The discovery of deep time ruptured this further. Scottish geologist James Hutton, late 18th century, and Charles Lyell's Principles of Geology, 1830 to 1833, demonstrated through uniformitarian principles, slow, observable processes like erosion and sedimentation acting over immense periods, that Earth had no vestige of a beginning, no prospect of an end. Charles Darwin, profoundly influenced by Lyell during the Beagle voyage, gained the vast timescale needed for gradual evolution by natural selection in On the Origin of Species, 1859. Deep time revealed an ancient planet layered with fossil strata, transforming history from thousands to millions and billions of years. The universe no longer felt young or small. Decay and change operated on scales dwarfing human or biblical horizons. Albert Einstein delivered the next profound shock. In special relativity, 1905, time became relative. Moving clocks run slower, time dilation, and simultaneity depends on the observer's frame. Nothing is absolute about the flow of time. It varies with velocity, approaching the speed of light as a universal limit. General relativity, 1915, wove time into four-dimensional spacetime, curved by mass and energy. Gravitational time dilation means clocks tick faster, farther from massive bodies. A clock on a mountaintop runs slightly ahead of one at sea level. Time is no longer a universal metronome, but local, flexible, and inseparable from space. Einstein's revolution dismantled Newton's absolute container, making time part of the dynamic fabric of the cosmos. Modern physics pushes further. Quantum mechanics raises whether time is fundamental or emergent, arising from relationships between events, entanglement, or irreversible interactions with the environment, as suggested in relational interpretations and theories by thinkers like Carlo Rovelli. In some models, the apparent flow of time emerges from quantum entanglement or thermodynamic arrows, increasing entropy, while the underlying reality may be a timeless block universe where past, present, and future coexist. Cosmology confronts the universe's fate, the heat death, or big freeze, where endless expansion leads to maximum entropy, thermodynamic equilibrium, and the cessation of usable energy on scales of trillions of years. Divine or cyclical doomsdays yield to physical inevitabilities, entropy's arrow replacing godly wrath, yet echoing ancient spectres of dissolution. 9. Conclusion. From sundial to singularity. The history of time is the awakening of human consciousness to the universe's staggering scale and subtlety. The sun first thrust time upon us with its daily imperative: rise, labour, set, rest. Ancient civilizations responded according to their life patterns. Mesopotamia bequeathed minutes and hours within recurring festivals. Egypt bound hours to the Nile and Ma'at. Greece debated time's reality while distinguishing Chronos from Kairos. China spiraled dynastic lessons. India contemplated ionic vertigo and escape from samsara. Islam charged linear time with prophetic purpose and judgment. Ancient humans, living in years and decades amid observable decay, could not conceive deep time, so religions and philosophies often placed the end near, a rational inference from a seemingly fragile young world. Then science ruptured the circle and stretched the line into timelines of billions of years. Newton provided absolute uniform time as mathematics' foundation. Geology and Darwin unveiled deep time, making Earth ancient. Einstein rendered time relative, local, and interwoven with space-time. Contemporary physics questions time's fundamentality, suggesting it may emerge from deeper, possibly timeless quantum realities, while forecasting entropic heat death as the universe's distant fate. Yet ancient fears persist in transformed guises. Doomsday narratives, religious or secular, still grip humanity. Climate disruption, nuclear risks, uncontrolled AI, or cosmic heat death. We inhabit dual temporalities, the intimate cyclical time of our bodies, birth, growth, decay, echoing the sun's original gift, and the abstract linear quantitative time of spreadsheets, satellites, and accelerators. In the end, time remains the most intimate of strangers. We cannot touch it, yet it conditions every touch. How we conceive it as wheel, path, spiral, relative dimension, or emergent illusion shapes whether we see the end as near, urgent reckoning, far, cosmic patience, or never truly arriving, recurrence or quantum timelessness. The sundial cast its shadow across millennia. The spectre of ending still whispers. Understanding this journey deepens our awe. A simple star forged not only the days, but the very structure of human consciousness itself.